Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Make Our World Your Runway. You know, this is the weekly show that interviews the most fascinating individuals from the world of modeling, pageantry, beauty, fashion, business, and even the entertainment industry. And today we are going into the luxury industry. So everyone sit back, relax, because you're really going to enjoy the show. But I'd like to make a special announcement. Most of my viewers out there know that besides doing this show, I am also the CEO and owner of the Ms. International World Pageant, and we are very excited to say that we have won 2 awards for 2025. We have been voted in the top 5 for the best Ms. pageant, and I'm also proud of myself that I was in the top 5 of best international director. So I want to thank all of our viewers out there for the tremendous support, because like I always say, we could not have done this without you. And remember to subscribe to the Global Trade Chamber YouTube channel so that you can see all the shows from Make Our World Your Runway and Success Stories. And I highly recommend that our viewers tune into Success Story, because this show features the most amazing women in the world of business and community service. From humble beginnings to successful entrepreneurs, these women will totally inspire you. And as always, we do want to thank the sponsors that make this show so possible every week. And that is the Global Trade Chamber, 100 Successful Women in Business, Carlo Wabizo Photography, Lux Salon, Queen Beauty Network, Tower Club, Royal Dames, Vida Designs, and Casa Calabria. So sponsors, thank you so much for supporting us and making the show possible every week. And of course, you want to get ready for some amazing shows coming up at the Global Trade Chamber and 100 Successful Women in Business, because it's time to shine a light on your achievements. So the next show that's going to be coming up is going to be the Embassy Suites Hotel by Hilton, and that is coming up January the 30th, and that's going to be in Boca Raton. So let's come together and honor the impactful work of women in business and community service. And at these events, it's fabulous because you're going to see networking, conferences, business expo, fashion show, and of course, as you know, Make Our World Your Runway always goes live at these shows. Now, once again, this is a free event, but you must register. So you can go to 2 websites, www.100swb.com for all the information, or the Global Trade Chamber website at www.globaltradechamber.com. Now, if you want to be a speaker or you want to be an exhibitor, it's probably closing fast. So please go on today and register. But once again, this is a free event, so we hope to see you there, but you must register. And now, ladies and gentlemen, lights, camera, action, it's on to our show. As we said, we're going into the luxury world today, and my guest is a travel entrepreneur and the founder of LuxeStyle Travel, a luxury travel concierge company specializing in curated, high-touch travel experiences with affluent travelers. With over a decade in the luxury travel industry, she is known for designing complex international journeys where discretion, execution, and oversight matter as much as the destination itself. She's also a founder of Travfluence, a travel influencer agency that bridges creators, streamers, and business professionals with premium travel brands, transforming influence and audience reach into curated experiences and measurable outcomes. She works at the intersection of luxury, leadership, and experience design, creating travel that is just not aspirational, but strategically executed, and I like that. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Tamoy Thelwell to Make Our World Your Runway. Welcome, Tamoy.
Thank you for having me, Angela.
Of course. How did you get started in this business? It sounds so amazing.
Yes, well, I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, and I moved to Florida in 2013. My background is in marketing, and when I moved to Florida, I got hired at a travel agency, a luxury agency in Miami, as a marketer. But as I started getting familiar with the travel industry, it became a passion, and I saw how I was able to use my marketing background
amazing. I mean, you really do
in designing and being creative with the travel.
And you know, it's so funny. My husband and I were talking about that last night when he worked for Cable and Wireless in New York City, and they were a major company that put in networks around the world. And they had up in New York City, they had a luxury travel group that they worked with, and it was absolutely amazing because, you know, you'd go out to the airport and you get this luxury limousine that brought you there, and hello ma'am, can I carry your bags, can I do this? And it's a whole world of difference. I mean, you know, so many people today say, well, you know, I'll take Uber, I'll take Lyft. And my take is, okay, that's great if you're going around the corner. But what about if you got a long journey?
Yes. Yes, I would agree with that. It does make a difference because, you know, you mentioned logistics. People don't realize when you're traveling far, especially far, internationally, there are logistics that you may not think about at the time of booking, but then when you're traveling and you encounter a situation, having that level of support really matters and makes a difference in the quality of the experience.
Exactly, it does. And, you know, I love it because, again, it's like door-to-door service, okay?
Literally.
It's like going on some of these luxury cruise liners. You know, you could take a day cruise or a 3-day cruise, but when you're out there over 7 days, you want to make sure you have that experience.
Yes.
And, you know, it's so funny because they're putting reruns of the old Love Boat on.
Yes.
And that was back then. And it has changed now, but back then, every night, a man had to wear a tuxedo and a woman had to be in a gown. Okay, once the sun went down, it was totally formal. Then they changed it to 2 nights, okay,
Yes.
which was the captain's dinner and the farewell dinner. Now, there's no more, except for some of the luxury cruise lines, there's really no more captain's dinner or the farewell dinner. And if there is, they're not going any more in tuxedo
Yeah.
or a gown. And I was so used to that because I was an avid cruiser, and especially with Holland America.
Yes.
Okay. And, you know, when you got some of these smaller lines coming up, which are great, but what happened to that ambiance?
Yes, and I would say definitely you are seeing a transition from, you know, what they call the formal to kind of like a business casual look.
Right.
But and that's what I love about luxury is it's for the people who want to experience that. And so that is my audience, and I know the products to put them on. There are a few cruise lines, you know, you're speaking about the luxury lines, that still stay true to that
Yes.
luxury experience. And so I would say that is my audience, the people that truly appreciate that elevated experience, that look forward to the formal nights, that look forward to the captain's ball, because they put value on that experience.
Right.
It's not just a quick transaction, you're getting a fast deal online, you know, you're investing in a travel experience that hopefully creates a memory that lasts forever.
Well, that's it. And all the times that I did that, I have so many wonderful memories. And I look back and say, oh, you know, when they came out with the Baked Alaskan, the final
Yes.
night. And the one year, my husband and I, we did a New Year's cruise. We were out there for like 13 days. And, you know, of course, we had the captain's dinner. Then the following night was New Year's Eve. And everybody was dressed up again. And it was so memorable. I still look at the pictures and say, oh my God, you know, I'll live with this memory forever.
Yes.
And it was great. You know, we took a limousine to the ship. A company picked us back up, you know, when we arrived back in port. And it was great. I mean, times have changed, but I think what you're doing, that has to come back.
And so just so you know, the luxury travel, specifically the cruise industry, the luxury market is the fastest growing in the cruise industry. So I do think cruise lines are slowly kind of shifting back into the true luxury experience. And, you know, I tell people, you know, people ask how I got into this and why I specifically choose the luxury market. Well, it's because, you know, I'll kind of go back to COVID when the world was, you know, at a standstill, and I know it affected a lot of people, but people were afraid to travel and weren't booking travel. But when I was presenting experiences, they were willing to invest in the experience.
Yes.
And so I think there's a bridge between luxury and curating that experience. And so,
You know, it's so funny. I went to a show last night, and it almost kind of ties into what you're saying. You know, many, many years ago when they talked about the golden age of Hollywood or a lot of entertainers that we had, it was a time that kind of got lost, okay? And people say, I don't think it'll ever come back. Well, I'm a true believer that history repeats itself. And the show I saw last night, this gentleman did a tribute to Frank Sinatra. Now, if you look at him, he looks nothing like Frank at all. But if you close your eyes, he sounds so much like him. You swear it was Sinatra on stage. And he was up there with a 20-piece orchestra. Everybody was in tuxedos, okay? Everybody that was in the audience was dressed. And I said, oh my God, what a time. It brought back the times of the old Copacabana in New York City and all the nightclubs where people really did get dressed. And at the end of the show, they said, we've got to keep this music alive. And I used to be in the entertainment industry, and I could tell you people used to come into the theaters totally dressed. Now today, except in the opera house, they still go dressed, but you walk into a theater today, it's like, you look and you wearing a pair of jeans going out on a Saturday night, you know, and it kind of ties in with what you're saying, because I think slowly there seems to be this transition coming back. It got lost in the shuffle, yes. And you're right, during COVID, everything totally got lost, but I think what happened during COVID is people realized if they were willing to get back to what once was, yes. Things started opening up again.
And I see that, and just kind of carrying that model, you know, that model, curating high touch itineraries. I was able to thrive during COVID, thank God. And so yes. I use that model now and how I handle my clients, high touch, discretion, privacy, kind of that exclusive
right.
experience, privacy. I think that's classic, right? Like classic luxury.
That is definitely, definitely, that's my thing, classic luxury. Yeah. And you know, it's funny you saying about surviving during COVID, because I did the same thing, of course, with the beauty pageant. A lot of pageants were being canceled, even Miss Universe, Miss America, all being pushed out. But I was lucky enough to get with two organizations, okay? One was called Supermodels Unlimited magazine, where they did billboards in New York City. So I was able to keep my company alive by advertising on these billboards and say, you know, coming soon, we'll be back. This is what, and we did a lot of Zoom callings. I even did fashion shows by Zoom. But of course, being part of the Global Trade Chamber and 100 Successful Women in Business, even for them to survive, they did a lot of Zoom calls, and we got on there and talked to different businesses. So I was able to survive until the industry opened up, and I was lucky enough that we did our pageant on board a cruise ship for 6 years, okay? When it was Bahama Paradise Cruise Line, which was just amazing. And they, back in early 2020, they started opening up, and we were able to get our pageant back on there. So that's how we kept ourselves alive. And for, you know, being down, I always say being down for the count for almost a year and a half, we still had about 21 girls that got on stage. So we had even girls that came in from, you know, overseas, and it was great. So you're right. Sometimes you have to be innovative to keep yourself alive.
Yes. And I think, you know, you saying that you kind of retained that 21 girls, I think there's a perception with luxury or high quality services that things are going to be executed accordingly or appropriately, safely. And so I think that's why clients are willing to invest in an experience. Like I keep saying the word luxury, but I think really it's just a high touch, elevated experience.
It is a high touch, elevating experience, and it's you know, when you're in that environment, it's definitely different. You know, you get a different feel, and you know, I always say, okay, you know, maybe not everyone can afford it, but there's always some way that luxury can be promoted. Yeah. You know, I always say whether somebody's got a lot of money or you're on a budget, there's always some way that luxury can be promoted. And it's a funny thing because, you know, working in New York City, and of course I was in the cosmetic industry, and I worked in some of the top doors like Saks, Bloomingdale's, but I started out in Bergdorf Goodman. Now Bergdorf Goodman was an unbelievable store. That was totally high luxury, okay? And I guess I got spoiled. I got spoiled. I mean, I had clients from around the world. I mean, it was unbelievable, okay? But then I worked in stores, you know, like Macy's and things like that, where it was a little bit different. But back then, retail, mostly all of retail, especially if you're in the cosmetic industry, was very high luxury, okay? And our training, you couldn't even go out on the floor unless you had like 6, 8 weeks of training, and you had to take a test. And if you didn't pass the test, they weren't putting you out on the floor. Today, I'll walk into a cosmetic department, and I'm like, my eyes start going back and forth. They said, what are they hiring?
Yeah.
Well, I said to one girl, I said, how long have you been here? And she said, well, I've been here for about 6 months. I said, have you gotten any training? She says, well, it's been online training. She said, and of course, you know, being in the store. I said, yeah. I said, well, that always helps on the job training. And I said, what'd you do before that? Well, I was a cashier in a supermarket. I'm like, okay. Okay, making the transition from being a cashier from the supermarket to this. But it's so totally different, okay? In fact, some of the girls that still know me, and they remember me because I love that movie, The Devil Wears Prada. Yeah. And when I walk in, they say, here comes Meryl Streep. I said, oh, you remembered, huh? Yeah. I said, well, keep that memory, okay?
Yeah.
But it's like, there's nobody on the floor to help you. Customers walk in, and again, they're so not educated on the product.
Yeah.
My old boss was in Macy's one day, and I went like this. I had blinders, and she said that, come here. She says, I need you for something. I said, uh-oh. She says, go over there and tell them how to sell. I said, I knew she was going to call me for something, but that's just it. But again, I could see they're trying to bring back that high level of experience, something that you've done.
It's funny that you talk about how, you know, the workforce in like a Macy's. You know, if you call a cruise line, a lot of these cruise lines now are, even the luxury, which I'm a little disappointed about, but it serves my business well, because I preach this. A lot of cruise lines now, even luxury, are outsourcing.
Thank you. I knew you were going to say that.
Their call centers or implementing AI, and I truly believe it is steering away from that high touch luxury that we talked about.
Is.
And the quality of the service, even for me, calling to, you know, get things booked for my clients, so frustrating. But I'm glad that it's me and my team versus, you know, the traveler. And I always tell them about that. Put value on your time. You don't want to be stuck on the phone. Hold times are crazy. Automations taking you from this department to that department, and then you don't know what you don't know. So if you call and you're speaking to someone that's outsourced, and it is what it is, sometimes the delivery of the information that they're providing is incorrect. And so even if you are a regular travel agency, so now I'm going to differentiate myself between the concierge and the travel agent. Travel agents typically incentivized with commission. It's fast transactions, right?
Yeah, it is.
And that's kind of why a lot of these companies are outsourcing. They're trying to be as efficient, just fast transactions.
Right.
My agency, my company, we take the time, we train our concierge team, and we know what we're doing. So even if we're talking to a cruise line agent that's outsourced and don't know what they're talking about, we're able to kind of facilitate and navigate.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I want to introduce you in today, because we were supposed to have a surprise guest, Tina Vita, but she would love to get involved with a lot of your concierge services. And this is something that definitely works well with concierge. If you notice, she's got these are only a touch of her products, but she's got gowns, I'm even wearing one of her necklaces. But I'd like to show the audience that if you want to go for luxury, Tina Vita has all different type of bags. I mean, it's unbelievable. Yeah, even that. Okay.
Made in Italy.
Yeah, made in Italy, yes. These are another one of her bags. And inside, we have another little bag here, okay? And then, of course, this bag is basically the same. And Miss International World is got into the luxury division, because we now have our own eyeshadow palette, which is named Miss International World. So, ladies and gentlemen out there, if you're looking for concierge services, we're going to be working with this lovely lady, and we can offer more than what she is also offering.
Yes, that's good to know.
Oh,
and, yeah. I appreciate the collaboration. I think that's super important.
Right.
Because with true concierge, if you think about Amex, they kind of built an ecosystem of different brands. And so I see that's what you're doing here, and so I appreciate the collaboration.
Yeah, no, it'd be great to collaborate. And I mean, I'm sure, I know you deal with limousine companies. You deal with jet companies as well too, right?
Yes, we do. A lot of our clients like to travel private jet, and I don't know if you've ever flown private jet, but
No.
you get to skip the TSA. There's no luggage, hassle. You just literally drive right up to the jet and get on. And so, yeah, that's been an amazing service I'm able to provide.
Well, something that we want to do and that we discussed with Tina, and it's a shame she couldn't be here today. She did have a family emergency, but we would love to do, okay, especially with a red carpet, a photo shoot with using all the pageant girls with their crowns and their gowns on, their sashes, with a jet in the background and one of your limousines, and it'd be great advertising for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is something we definitely want to do, and Tina would provide all the gowns. My girls have their beautiful crowns and their sashes, and we could get hairstylists, makeup artists, and it would be a great photo shoot.
That does sound amazing.
Yeah, and we know we can get it in a couple of magazines. As a matter of fact, we just had a billboard in Las Vegas, okay, which thanks to Tina Vida, there was a big fashion show there, and we had one of our girls, Kelly DeRoche, who's also with the Tower Club. Okay, I'm sure Nancy's told you about the Tower Club. Yep.
I'm actually a member.
That's right. Yeah. You are a member. I'm a member there as well. And I think we're all members there. And yeah, so it's, things like, it's just like snowballing one right after the other. Yeah.
And I think quality recognizes quality. There's a saying, real recognizes real. So I do think
exactly. Quality recognizes quality. Absolutely, So these are the things that we want to do. And like I said, we know we can get this in a few magazines. We probably, when we do a photo shoot like that, we could probably get it in a billboard in New York City. And I deal with Supermodels Unlimited magazine. So these are all the things that we can collaborate with, and especially what you're doing and things that I want to do. And it just kind of makes it better for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see what manifests out of this.
Absolutely. And when you collaborate with other people and they have the same ideas that you have, okay, it makes it even better. Okay, because there's so many people out there that you have a vision, I have a vision, but there's a lot of people out there that don't see it. And I see what you're trying to do, you see what I'm trying to do, and again, this just makes for better business.
And partnering with the right people matters, and speaking your dreams, your visions with the right people matters,
Exactly.
If you're talking to someone that doesn't speak your language, there's a disconnect.
Oh, forget it. There's definitely a disconnect, There's just, and some people, unfortunately, just don't get it. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people out there that do, and then you have people out there that just don't know how to get involved in it. So I think when people see it, and it's executed, and they're saying, this is something I want to do, or this is something I want to be a part of, And it's like walking into a room, and I always say this, okay, you can walk into a room with a pair of jeans on and a shirt, all right, but if your hair is done and your makeup is done, people are going to look at you, okay? But if you go in there and look like you just raked your leaves in front of the lawn, forget the idea. That's not going to work. So it depends on how you put things together,
Presentation is everything.
Oh my God, exactly. And a saying that my husband has that I got to hear every day, but he got this from one of his bosses in New York: promise what you deliver and deliver what you promise. Yes. And there's so many people out there that do not do that.
Yes. And I think in the luxury space, quality, it matters, and there's an emphasis on quality, and exactly that saying, promise what you deliver and deliver what you promise.
Exactly. Yeah, there's an emphasis on it. My husband said, he said, when I worked in New York City, he said, and I was putting in networks. He was doing networks around the world. And he said, I would go to a client and say, look, I don't know if this can be done, but I'll give it my best shot. He said, but if I knew, he said, I had the resources to do it, I would tell him, done deal. And I'm the same way. I do that with my pageant girls. If I know I can do something, I'll tell them, look, it might take a little time, but I'll get this done. But if they come to me and say, well, we'd like to do this, we'd like to do that, I'll say, look, I'll give it my best shot. I don't think it's going to happen, so don't get disappointed if it doesn't. But I'll give it my best shot. So you have to take that honesty approach as well, too. You have to be very honest with people and say, look, this is where I'm at, this is where we can be, or you know what, this may not work, but we could try an alternative.
Right, and a lot of the feedback that I get from my clients who have moved from a traditional travel agent to myself, a concierge, I hear that a lot. You know, my last travel agent would promise me, you know, sometimes it feels like you're talking to a car salesman, you know.
Well, you said that because it's a funny thing. As I just said, my husband was in the communications industry for 30 years, okay? And the telecoms industry went out, and of course, with AI, they don't even do they don't even put half the networks in that they used to. So he's been working for AutoNation for like almost 12, it's gonna be 13 years now he's working. He says, I never thought I'd become a car salesman. But what makes him different, and they even said it at the dealership, his ratio of closing is the best. Even if he doesn't do the 10, 12 sales a month, he has the highest ratio of closing. And the reason being because he kept that concept from New York City, okay? And it's his honesty, and I do see that a lot of his customers call him back. That's why he's been there the amount of years, because he said, I don't want to be the typical car salesman. Oh, promise me. He said, I'll tell the client up front, look, okay, we got to do an appraisal on the car. Tell me what you're looking for. We'll try to come close. But a lot of times they can't, depending on what happens. And a client will walk. But he doesn't tell them, oh yeah, I can give you this for this car. He says, let's do the appraisal. Let's do your credit app. Let's see where you stand. Let's see what kind of discounts we might be able to get you. And that's why he closes the way he does.
Yeah, that reminds me of a scenario. I had a client booking a $50,000 trip in Mexico. He was pricing it against Expedia, you know. So there's a $2,000 difference, right? And he's like, why is there a $2,000 difference? And basically, long story short, I'm able to offer private transfers, this elevated support, logistics, if something goes wrong. That's kind of what you're paying for. In the end, he realized that and, you know, paid the $50,000, and I was able to give him more value. But you know,
exactly.
It's not the fast transactions. Sometimes that costs you more.
That costs you more money. A lot of people do that. Well, I want this, I want that. I don't pay MSRP. I hear that at the dealership. But meanwhile, when they realize, okay, this is the price, and then they start throwing discounts in, it does work out. So that's a very valid point that you made. But anyway, we only have about 5 minutes left. So if you could tell our viewers where to get you, your website.
Yes, so I'm a luxury travel concierge. I want to differentiate myself from an agency. We're not about fast transactions. The perks are obvious. You're going to get perks with us, but you're going to get elevated service and perks. You could contact us at 888-905-7366 or visit our website, www.LuxeStyleTravel.com.
That's perfect, yes. So ladies and gentlemen, you have heard that, and I highly recommend that you contact Tamoy because she's absolutely amazing. If you go to her website, you're going to be, oh my God, you're going to be amazed at some of the luxury products and items that she does have. But anyway, Tamoy, it was a pleasure to have you on. I feel like today I feel like I'm back in New York City. So thank you for that. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Make Our World Your Runway. You know, every week we have an impactful show coming your way. And of course, stay tuned because we're going to be on location for the next couple of weeks, and we are really going to bring you some great surprises. So once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.